to Beans and Breakdowns, a podcast dedicated to bridging the gap between specialty coffee and the heavy music community. On this episode, I'm joined by David Mitchell from the band Golfer and Blue Skies Turn Black. So grab a fresh cup of coffee and wake the fuck up! What's going on, caffeinated crew? On this episode, I'm joined by, I guess, what could be considered a Montreal legend, right?
Damn, okay.
Not to just go straight into the punishing.
I'll take it.
David from Blue Skies Turn Black, Golfer. What else is your pine? You've pine groved before?
Yeah.
Fox Lake.
Fog Lake.
Fox Lake is another thing.
Like you said, held. If you want to go deep into my CV,
your session work.
Played bass in the last Chastity record, a couple singles.
The Portrayal of Guilt one is like an unexpected.
Played 2 shows with Portrayal of Guilt.
It's an unexpected.
Last fall. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm great. I got this sick decaf Van Hout and 2 waters.
That's cancelable on the podcast.
Yeah.
The Van Hoot.
I mean, Van Hoot. Every morning I come in here. We're at the Blue Skies extensive office.
Neon.
Event. Every morning I come in here. I make my chocolate peanut butter sandwich cake and my decaf. And I thrive all day.
You look great.
Thank you.
So there must be some kind of, it's like the Dr. Pepper lady, you know, and she's like, what's the secret to living 109? She's like, I drink a Dr. Pepper every day. And that's how she lived to be 109.
Yeah, like that's how I like to get my caffeine in. Mate, soda.
Mate soda?
Like mate, soda. I'm a big mate guy.
Like with the little
More like the sparkling, Club Mate is what Club Mate changed my life. Berlin 2014 Golfer tour, discovering that.
Origin stories.
Oh yeah, my caffeine I was like hard caffeine hater, would tweak the fuck out of me, and then I discovered that stuff. And yeah, huge mate. Like if I'm trying to go out and party, drink a mate. But like if I casually drink one, I just won't be able to fall asleep. Like I'm very sensitive to caffeine, like we were talking about.
Right.
But
do you get anxiety?
It's like a mix of like the sweats, headache. Like I went to this cafe the other day, this Italian cafe, asked for a decaf, definitely did not get a decaf. And it ruined my day. Like I couldn't work, I couldn't focus, like my head hurt. I felt like I was having like a minor panic. I don't really get panic attacks, but I would have to expect that's kind of what it felt like. Couldn't sleep that night.
Do you know Max Lejoie?
Sure.
Yeah, he also has caffeine struggles. Like he says that he's allergic to it. I don't know what the symptoms are, but it sounds something similar to that because I'm not allergic to caffeine.
No.
And I don't know what that feels like.
I mean, like I said, I love coffee. I love the taste of coffee. That's what I have my decaf every morning. And mate, there's something about mate, like even like green tea, oolong tea, black tea, that stuff puts me in the haunted house.
Like really?
Oh yeah, none of that stuff.
So
works for me.
you can't fuck with matcha?
Matcha is horrible. Like matcha is a bad scene for me. But there's something about mate that feels, I don't know. It's like, it's a gradual buzz. I don't know. Like there's something about, like I wonder what if Max had a bit of mate. I wonder how that would affect him.
Max, try the mate.
Yeah,
try it out. See what happens.
Mate. What do we got now? There's like a bunch of brands now.
The Club Mate seems to be good. There's also the yerba mate, like the yellow can sodas.
The Guyaki's like the main.
Is that the brand
that you'll find like in the States at Whole Foods? But there's like 2. There's like Matina, which I'm not a super big fan of. That's a local company. But then there's the other one. I'm totally blanking. They're like the smaller cans, kind of like a white
with the pastel looking.
And they got like the mint lime and the sugar-free watermelon. I heavily fuck with that company.
Just gotta get at the Rochelle Berry.
Yeah, just go to Rochelle Berry.
Rochelle Berry,
go to fucking where like Andy like Deps have it now. Like it's
Basta.
Yeah, go to Basta, get a couple cans. Head to the rave and see what happens. You know,
just get cranked.
Yeah,
get cranked on.
Tweak out on the clean shit. You know.
Well, I foolishly brought 2 cups of coffee, so
I fucked up. I still feel really bad.
It's not a problem because it just means I get an extra coffee. So.
And luckily at this office, we got the beautiful Van Hoot decaf
in the Keurig.
All you can drink.
Jesus help me.
Super good.
So I stopped by Oron Grain, which luckily is right around the corner. I love that shop. I think it's goated. It's a coffee boutique, but you can get all the filter coffee. They do it. It's all hand pour, which is sick.
I'm going to go and get a decaf there for sure.
I'll see. You have to see if he has it. I think he has some shit.
Okay.
Shout out. I got something, Bivouac, from Quebec. It's their Ethiopia Sidama natural cerise. Oh, cerise. I thought cerise is cherry.
Cerise.
Oh, cerise?
Yeah.
Clarice. Pêche, bergamot. Pêche is peach for all my ignorant American followers.
Sounds really good. Peach cherry?
Peach, cherry, and bergamot.
Okay.
It says it's got a fruity profile. Fruité.
Looks classy.
Oh, hell yeah. It tastes pretty good. It was brewed on a thing like the pour over system setup thing that he was using is not my favorite taste. It's quick, but I feel like a lot of times the coffee nerd moment is going to be under extracted unless it's done carefully. So it doesn't quite get all of the notes that I want. But
it's got to be better than that Keurig situation.
It's straight up. I'm pretty sure like if I just like munched on some of those, it would be better than.
Listen, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like I'm a snob about a bunch of shit, but this Keurig decaf hits.
Do you like craft beer?
I don't drink alcohol, but I like. It's kind of like coffee. Like I love beer. Right. I drink Bud Zero every chance I get.
Hell yeah. I
just had Molson X Zero for the first time in Ottawa on Saturday. Pretty fire. But like I'll fuck with the fancy 0.0 beers. Like. Yeah, again, like I love the taste of beer. I just
don't alcohol.
Don't alcohol. Again, like caffeine doesn't agree with me. Just sort of makes me feel sick.
Yeah.
And headachy. Like I never had that buzz from alcohol that people describe as like fun or I don't know.
I mean, as I'm getting into my mid 30s, that feeling has left me completely. So I usually just feel horrible afterwards.
Yeah, that was me at like 24.
Oh, sick. I wish that would have happened to me.
No, it's a absolute blessing. Like I hate cigarettes, I hate alcohol, I hate caffeine. Well, I hate the sensation of caffeine.
Yeah.
Like, all blessings.
So you're just going straight edge now because you're off
Yeah. Day 3 of straight edge life.
Are you gonna pick your card up or?
Dude, I want to. I claimed edge for 2 months when I was 16. But the problem was I couldn't fuck with the music. Like it was like the kind of like the guns up.
Yeah.
Like down to nothing.
I liked Have Heart though.
Have Heart. I mean, to this day, I'm straight up just not a hardcore kid. Like I love a lot of adjacent genres. I grew up on what you could call all kinds of Warped Tour metalcore type stuff, but like actual. And like I love Gorilla Biscuits. I love Minor Threat. I love a lot of adjacent stuff. Like I listen to Rival Schools all the time, and like if you want to go Jace in all kinds of directions, we can definitely go there. But like the contemporary crop of whatever's happening in hardcore is not for me. The sort of whatever you want to call it, amazing core era, or that Bridge 9 kind of era that when I was trying to get into hardcore in the mid 2000s, just like, so I was like, I wanted to, it's like, it felt like, okay, I'm phasing out of the Warped Tour stuff. Where am I going? I met some kids who were into hardcore, who were very straight edge. And I was like, I'll give this a shot. And I was like down for the lifestyle, but the music didn't do anything for me. And then I got really into like post rock.
Okay.
Like Sigur Rós became like still like my favorite band of all time, and like got super into just like instrumental music and like a lot of ambient and like drone music.
Okay.
And started smoking a lot of weed and haven't stopped smoking a lot of weed. Yeah.
Well, now's your time. Like,
no,
you
for
stop
real.
smoking weed,
Right.
and then you get into hardcore.
Yeah.
At what, you're 30?
33.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
perfect timing. Hardcore is back.
True. It is. It might be my moment.
The Trump, bigger turnout, more people than ever. That's hardcore right now. So maybe this will be the time to start a hardcore band.
The very end of the bandwagon. I'm here. I'm claiming edge, vegan straight edge. I've been vegan since 2006.
Okay.
So I've always wanted to have like the XVX in my bio. You know what I mean?
The V stands for Vape Lord.
Vape Lord. I mean, I don't do the. I've vape Kush all day, but
Just vape.
not vaping.
Let's see your rig. Show me your vape rig.
It's a pen from Ontario. One of those Ontario.
Oh, the big choo-choo train juice box things?
No, it's like one of those thin disposable guys.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Pretty fire.
Some of our friends have like straight up locomotive smokestacks that they...
Those, I tried one of those once and I couldn't figure out how it worked.
It's too much science.
I'm not an audio, I'm not a technology guy.
I'm not a
very
tech.
analog dude.
I
Like,
can't.
spliffs and easy pen, like
Straight up
one and done pens, you know.
Yeah, pack it into the end of the cigarette.
Right,
For me,
one hitters. Anything that requires maintenance, like troubleshooting, it's just like not gonna happen for me.
I gotta call support. I don't know. You just
Kush
I don't
support.
know. I can't do it. I gotta call
420
Kush support.
911 420.
You talked a little bit about your background getting into Warped Core. I like
That's
that one.
kinda good.
That's a good one.
We should-
You're from like Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
So what were like the bands when you were coming up that got you hooked into the more like alternative scene?
It all started when I was 8 years old with the Offspring Americana record. I guess it was just like Trojan horsed in by Pretty Fly for a White Guy on TV and on the radio. Went out to my local HMV at the Rockland Shopping Center, picked up the cassette, and there's like proper D beat, you know, like they're like that rhythm, like there are proper skate punk tracks on that record is sort of what I'm trying to say. And so it was kind of wild at 8 years old to hear that and to hear some of those tracks on that record. And so that was the big one. And then it was kind of like the beginnings of Sum 41 and Blink for sure. And then I went to a summer camp in Maine. I was 10 years old, and there was a kid there who couldn't have been older than 12. And this kid had like, he only wore AFI shirts. Like he was the biggest AFI fan. But this is pre-Sing the Sorrow. Mm-hmm. Like they were not a popular, like they were a popular band in the whatever, skate punk, whatever you want to call it, Misfits core world. But like not, you know, beyond that. Somehow this like 12-year-old like had every AFI CD. He like had them at camp. And he just like, but it was weird because he didn't really like outwardly fuck with other bands. It was just like AFI, like hard AFI. Anomaly. Like if you're out there, I'm dying to like reconnect with you.
Do you still only like AFI is the question. That's the question I would have to ask him.
Like where are you at musically today? But he lent me a copy of their first record, Answer That and Stay Fashionable, which is like makes the Offspring look like Simple Plan musically, you know. It's not like a hard or heavy record. Mm-hmm. But, you know, when you're 10 and yeah, so that shit blew my mind. And then from there, like got super into, I was a big like ska and skate punk kid. I mean, Montreal lit city for ska and skate punk. Straight and was going to like Mustard Plug shows when I was 12, Big D and the Kids Table, would see Planet Smashers like 4 times a year, Ska's Dead Tour, Catch 22. But like no effects, whatever, Pennywise, Melancholy, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater shit. Yeah. So that was the vibe for a bit. And then one summer 2004, everyone just got into Taking Back Sunday. Like everyone just got like it's like all the skate punk and ska kids were like, no, we listen to Taking Back Sunday now. And then, so that sort of was like the shift. And then from there, I got super into like that EVR sound. Like Coheed and Cambria was my favorite band. A huge Coheed fan. Circa, Fall of Troy, Chiodos. That like Alexis, those early Alexis records were on EVR.
Yep.
So that was like my shit. Like the prog, Fall of Troy, like that proggy type of Warped Tour shit.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, like Under Oath from First to Last, whatever. Like fucked heavily with all that kind of stuff at the time. And then yeah, got super into like disavowed that whole world. I found Sigur Rós, was like, I'm over it. I'm over this scene shit, and got like super into like math rock, post rock, and then yeah, the journey continues from there.
Yeah, but that's sick. I feel like every kind of like person who was in emo, because I followed the same sort of trajectory. Mine was a little more Christcore.
Sure. I mean, I love Copeland. I love As Cities Burn. Like I like.
There you go.
Like, you know, I love those first two Norma Jean records. May, I think I know like just the one hit, because it was like kind of, you know, LimeWire era. Yeah. You kind of got like MySpace. I love those first two Me Without You records.
The first two records?
Yeah, incredible. I saw Me Without You with Coheed, Blood Brothers, 2005.
What an insane show.
Blew my mind.
Blood Brothers is such an underrated band.
I think they're finally getting their full flowers today
like now,
on the reunion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember even hearing them in like 2010, and my friend was like, "Oh, this band like really fell off. They didn't get appreciated at their time."
Yeah.
And I was like, "This is insane. Like I've never heard anything like this before." And now people are super into it.
Yeah.
It's kids.
It's totally kids.
Yeah.
Which is badass. Like
it's sick.
Yeah.
ICP makeup.
I haven't noticed.
Have you not seen
yet.
any ICP makeup at your shows?
No.
Okay, it's like in
What?
like anything like heavy with like
Really?
yelling or screaming. ICP
For
makeup.
real?
Yep. Any all
I
ages
feel
shows?
like my eyes are open. I feel like I'm out and about.
Right? Well,
Like
apparently
hardcore. I don't go to hardcore shows, so
anything all ages.
Anything
that's
all
like
ages.
heavier. I've
Like-
seen ICP makeup.
like the shows happening in Sauterania, or at least yeah.
Or like the Legion.
The Legion shows, kids are pulling up with ICP.
It depends on the band, but if it's like a true Gen Z, like hardcore.
But these are
band,
like these Legion shows are like, it's like local bands for the most part, right? No? Or
Ontario.
like
I mean, there's
Ontario. Yeah.
Well, we've got some from like Winnipeg that have come to.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is it's not like a headline, like a normative head. Like these kids are coming out ostensibly for a local show. Like you know what I mean?
I think it's a trackside, like it caught on at trackside
Okay,
or something.
that makes
but
sense.
I'm not sure.
That totally makes sense.
I'm not sure if it's a strictly Montreal thing, because I've seen it in videos in other scenes.
That's crazy.
Like I've seen it like in Las Vegas, in LA, and
What are the fits like? Like
super gothy, like Hot Topic, Trip Pant style, like revival shit. Super weird. So you've got this contrast of like people my age that dress like hardcore, you know, fuckheads, and then you've got the whole spectrum of going down to like neo goth with ICP paint, and like, do you remember the video, that the meme that was big in like 2011 or something, with like that acid goths like dancing under the
of
bridge?
course.
And then it's like that. Those kinds of fits are what's coming out.
That's wild.
Super weird.
But as far as I understand, like the Jinko, like you pull up to like an Earth Crisis show in '96, and that's what people were wearing. So it's not completely unprecedented. But the makeup thing has to be like, I don't understand. You're the head here on hardcore, but I don't think there was ever an era where people were pulling up in ICP makeup to like hardcore shows.
In the 15 years that I have been going to shows, like local and plus, it is never been a person rolling up with ICP makeup until like a year ago.
And the people our age, like organizing and playing these shows, are they freak? Like when it first started happening, was there like a vibe of like, holy shit?
I think it was more like old, confused.
Right.
Like what is that?
Not negative holy shit, but just like how do you explain this or whatever?
I mean, of course, like you don't want to be a judgmental person, right? So it's like,
no, I think
it's interesting.
Also, just like straight up, I think the energy is like people at shows is great.
Yeah.
Right? If they're if they're wearing a suit and tie or you know what I mean? Like, who cares? As long as they're not being jerks, right? I think, I don't know, that's my energy, but I'm also not in that scene.
No,
so
I understand. Like, it's good as long as there's like people there and they're experiencing it, and it's just interesting to like. For my thing, it's maybe I should just ask somebody like who's dressed or doing that. Like, where did you see this?
Right,
what is this? It's TikTok straight up. I didn't want to be the one, but but I mean, there's like revival happening in emo that you've got to be such a big fan of. Like this whole Sick New World, like Hot Topic, emo core revival.
Oh yeah, and like slowcore and the shoegaze thing. It's like everything's
shoegaze is
going through a sick
huge now.
Like awesome Gen Z, you know. So it's that's kind of what I was saying before. It's like I think in hardcore, just from what I hear, I listen to a lot of like a weekly Axe to Grind listener. It's weird. Like I don't listen to hardcore, but like I keep tabs, and I think 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 50, like this scene was kind of shot, like from what I understand. It was like kind of the same 100 people maybe, and there's maybe a stagnancy creatively. And so, I don't know, like just the fact that people, like, you know, it's popping up more than ever, again, from an outsider, has to be lit. Like if, like in the scenes that I'm maybe involved in, I welcome it. Like any, like, you know, like especially as a promoter, like I'll sell a ticket to anyone. Like I'm stoked to, you know, like, but I can't speak on behalf of hardcore. I mean, like,
do you compared to like say pre-COVID? Because when did you start doing Blue Skies?
2015.
Yeah, so that was, damn, that's like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years in February.
What are you seeing compared to then now with your turnouts?
I mean, I've been booking shows since 2008. So, like, yeah, whatever the math is, they're 16 years. So, but I've never necessarily been like the hardcore promoter or like, I guess emo, like that emo revival fourth wave shit might be one of my bread and butters. But post-pandemic, just for a number of different reasons, like booking small kind of DIY shows in this configuration has just become a lot more difficult. So it's like, it's hard for me to answer that question because I was booking a lot more smaller, what's ostensibly just DIY presented by Blue Skies. A mix of me getting older and just configurations shifting. Like I just don't really book a lot of those shows anymore, or like those bands just aren't coming here point blank, maybe in part because I'm not reaching out or a number of factors. So like, I don't know, like for the most part, I don't notice a major shift in that particular scene. Like maybe one exception, I booked this Arm's Length, Ben Quad, Carly Cosgrove, Saturdays at Your Place package tour, the Wax Bodega tour, which I was like, oh, we'll be lucky to sell 100 tickets. And we almost like sold 250. And that was like a ton of faces, a ton of like new faces, young faces, people singing along. So it's like, that was one night where I was like, okay, like Montreal, something's happening here. But like to base anything off of beyond that one night in that particular world, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like I was saying before, some of that shoegaze, slowcore revival stuff does certainly better than it did pre-pandemic. Indie rock in general, like I'm a big kind of like all that post Alex G stuff is very much my world, and I think like there's a band that I booked a bunch of times, TV Girl, before the pandemic. That would like it'd be like 30 people at Casa, and I think they sold out Beanfield like in a few minutes.
Jesus.
And like they're playing arenas in Europe right now, or like examples like that, or like even Alex G was like we'd struggle to sell 300 tickets before the pandemic, and it did like almost sold out, you know, MTELUS. Like so stuff in that kind of like contemporary indie rock world, definitely a huge jump. But like kids who are going to those shows might have been like 16 pre-pandemic, you know what I mean? So I think it all comes back to what we were talking about, like this new generation discovering stuff maybe on TikTok or whatever,
right.
Spotify, who maybe just couldn't go to shows before the pandemic and then are maybe catching up for lost time. You know what I mean? Like
right.
going to more stuff because they couldn't in these really formative years. So I think it's like a bunch of factors.
Yeah, I think, and this can be like a double-edged sword for sure. The whole TikTok double-edged sword, where it's like you don't want like quote unquote posers or whatever at your shows. And this is not speaking obviously as a promoter, because you just want to.
I'm gonna say I'll
just want to pack the
away.
house.
Like yeah. Like.
But for like a scene or something, like if you play in a band, and I don't know, maybe this is just stupid elitism at the end of the day.
So I was gonna say like. Again, it all comes back to I can't speak on behalf of hardcore. I don't know what the vibe is. That's not my world. But like, there are no posers in like everyone's a dork in emo. Like you find out about modern baseball and mom jeans. You know what I mean? Like it's not like anyone's pulling up being like, I love like Asking Alexandria, and I found out about some type of like DIY emo. You know what I mean? It's like. That energy doesn't really exist, and even if it did, it would be like welcome. Like I hope you like this and come back, and maybe you like, you know what I mean? Like
please buy our CD.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't think a lot of the scenes I participate in can afford to gatekeep. It's just like, please, like this is lit. Like get involved. But I know and I hear and I see what's happening in hardcore. And I think a lot of it might have to do with like metalcore or like, you know what I mean?
There's
or
always that like grinding, like rubbing, like they always kind of butt heads for some reason, even though at one point they were one and the same.
Right.
And I don't understand. I think we're almost at a point where they're going to reconverge. Sure. Because you've got the whole New England metalcore, Afira.
I mean, which I love that stuff.
It's sick.
Yeah. That's like the thing I identify with most in this sort of contemporary age of hardcore. But like, again, Weekly Axe to Grind listener, and they use the phenomenon that I think is really interesting of like uncanny valley hardcore.
Okay.
Like, are you clued into that?
No.
Like maybe an example, like a classic example is like Counterparts.
Ah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Like mallcore almost.
But like, I don't know. I've never heard a Counterparts song. I don't really I don't know.
Counterparts would be like, okay, so let's say, you know the band Dying Wish.
Right. Amazing example.
Okay. So Dying Wish.
But they just announced a tour today with Balmora
and Pain of Truth.
Right?
Yeah, amazing tour. So, and Out of Pocket. Those are four bands that sound uniquely different, but they would play a fest or a local show together. So that's what I'm saying is this reconvergence. Right. And I think a lot of the bands want that. They like that because more people are going to come.
But old heads might be.
That's the thing is the jaded ones that were there in 2015, 2018 when the shows were 30 people. Right. But like I'm watching the audio tree that Dying Wish just did, and which is insane. And in the comments, you've got that one dude that's super stoked and excited, and he's found out about hardcore because he watched like a Hate 5/6 video for Counterparts and then deep dove. And he's like, oh, let's get more, hardcore bands on, like Counterparts, and then lists like 3 or 4 more metalcore bands. Right. And then you've got that one asshole underneath that's like, those are all metalcore bands. That's not hardcore. And then it's like, well, that guy feels like shit now, but the other guy does have a point. It's not necessarily like truly hardcore because there's this large thing. But to that guy, all of these bands are hardcore, and to a lot of people all over the world, like that's the thing is I understand the uncanny valley thing, right? Because it's like you have these bands that kind of gateway you into where does this sound come from, and then you find Poison the Well, and then you're like, oh shit. But
then it's like that's a layer, but then you have like, well, isn't integrity like, you know what I mean? Yes. Like what is, and then you have to define what metalcore is. It's kind of like I deal with that a lot. Like in my little weird brain of like post-hardcore, right? Yeah. I think that's a similar thing where it's like, okay, well, is it Fugazi and Unwound? Okay, yes. But then the misnomer of like Sleeping with Sirens is on Wikipedia might be a post, like that wave of like scene.
The Color Morale.
Scene rock.
Yes.
Scene Warped Tour rock that like alternative press decided was called post-hardcore, I guess, in like 2006, and it kind of stuck, you know. But it's like there's 18 ways. Like Quicksand, that's
post-hardcore.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like if you go on the internet, they're gonna, you know, like
yeah.
So
what is Silverstein?
Silverstein is a scene rock band.
See, because to me,
rock.
that's post-hardcore.
Well, then how is Quicksand post-hardcore? If Silverstein, those are two completely like
they have
apples and oranges.
They have similarities.
Please elaborate. I'm done.
Well, so this is my thing, is I think there were eras of post-hardcore.
Correct, yeah. And I'm not saying one isn't and one isn't. It's more how interesting the conversation is. If like Earth Crisis and Integrity are metalcore bands, but then like Bleeding Through is a metalcore band, but then like
Killswitch Engage is a metalcore band.
Right, and then so it's just like, I guess it's generational, but I do think that it's low-key a completely different genre at every, with the exception of this Balmora shit going on and this like, that's low-key like, maybe we've gone to the end of the road where like emo revival is actually just Braid and the Get Up Kids and American football. Like it's you know what I mean? Like emo, it took 10 years, but it became emo again. And maybe metalcore, but then again, it's metalcore is going back to metalcore 2, early 2000s edition. Like those bands don't, to my understanding, sound like, or do they sound like 90s metalcore bands? Like, or
no, I think that they sound like early 2000s.
Right.
Like,
but then again,
from a second story window.
Sure.
Yeah.
But from the little I know, there's also been some kind of 90s metalcore revival too, right?
I'm not plugged into that.
Okay.
Thing.
I don't know, because again,
the Afira stuff, like it kind of sprang because I saw like Balmora, and I think it originally, like the first one I saw was like Dying Wish before they were this new shit. I did not really fuck heavy with them originally, and then when they came out with the new album and they had some members change up, it's like, okay, y'all found the stride. But then before that, I was like having a hard time with a lot of that music because it's bringing back that whole like underproduced sound too that I always had a hard time with,
right?
Because I was a scene kid.
Sure, right.
And I liked music that sounded good.
Sure.
So
that's my whole thing with death metal. Like I could never get into like that 90s death metal shit, but I love like Mortiferum and whatever. Like all the big ones, like the Blood Incantations and the Tomb Molds. I'm talking about the new school stuff.
Oh, I mean, shit, yeah.
Because it just sounds good. Like I don't like the raw tin can like 90s. Like I like the big boomy, or some of it's kind of in the middle. But like or even like black metal, like hard to, especially like. I'm coming around to it as I get older, but like when I was in the age where you discover shit like that lo-fi weird production quality was always like a barrier for me. Like I'm a big like UK garage and drum and bass and like dubstep guy. Like I like big production. Like even like, again, going back to the Scene Kid stuff, going back to the post rock stuff, like that's like it's always been a hurdle for me to like, you know, get past the rawness. It's only now, like in my 30s, that I'm like starting to appreciate it.
So Gopher is wrapped up.
We played our last show like 4 days ago.
How are you feeling?
I feel great. I'm glad we were able to like wrap it up with intention. And you know, a lot of bands maybe don't get to play a last show. I know a lot of bands were like COVID casualties, and then what are you gonna like play a last show 2-3 years after, like, or whatever, ending on bad blood or whatever it is, or ending for some God forbid type reason. So it was nice to end it on our own terms, and certainly like I don't want to do something when the vibe isn't all in from everybody, you know, and. So if the vibe wasn't all in from everybody, then that's a sign from the universe to move on. I think it's a genre of music that I personally felt difficult to age into, like mid-30s playing that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's like we're not Alisana over here, but like we're also not like playing like jazz fusion, you know? Like you have to agree that some genres you age into, right? So there's something that feels good about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, like 12, 13 years of my life, did a bunch of cool shit, sacrificed a bunch of shit for it, but also don't want to beat a dead horse or, you know, do a thing just because it's a thing to do, you know? So
I feel like in that genre, first of all, y'all are like one of the only bands in Montreal that
in Canada.
Yeah. And then getting to play like Asia and Europe, doing all kinds of shit, like the rap sheet for touring that y'all did.
Yeah, it's a band that never was like we have an agent and we're going out on full US support. You know, we never ever did that, like that grind. It was always just like got lucky because some band invited us out, or festival in Europe and then, you know, rattle a few dates around it, DIY style. But there was never an era in the band where it was like, let's tour, you know what I mean? So it kind of, and it's like half of the band's existence, no one had a driver's license. Like shit like that. Like never.
That's classic.
Not to say that it's uncommon, but like never owned a van. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're never that band. So there's something about that makes it even cooler as an accomplishment to be like, we did do all this cool shit without ever being close to full time or ever deciding like, let's try for a year to like get a visa and get an agent and just like hustle. Mm-hmm. So
did y'all ever get visas?
We got visas to do that Pine Grove tour in 2022.
Okay.
We snuck in a couple times. We only did the US. No, we got visas. We got visas in 2018 and only ended up doing South by. Really stupid.
That's crazy.
Really stupid. Because then we did Japan that year. We did Europe that year. And it was just like, I think we should have gone and done like at least a weekend in like New York, Philly, Boston or something. I don't know.
Because it's so expensive.
Yeah, we really dropped the ball on that. But so we got visas twice. Really did not put them to good use the first time, and like even the second time we did like 10 days with Pine Grove and like 5 days on our own coming back, and then went down and did like a Boston, Philly, New York. But we're also like we don't sell tickets like you know what I mean? Like it's not like we're ever a band that really drew. So in a way it's like, yeah, it would have been cool if you know we had used the visa, but like what, to play like DIY spaces to like 25 people. It's like maybe the universe didn't want us to go through that. Like
when is it? I mean, it's crazy because you look at a lot of other bands like in that kind of like that space, like the mathier rock with like Midwest emo vibe. And South by makes sense because I mean, even like I think the Chon set pops up on my my YouTube algorithm like once a year at least.
Yeah, that South by year was amazing for us because we got to play with like every band in the scene. It was like doing a tour because a lot of people, weirdly enough, at least in that era of South by, would come down from wherever they were. And none of it was like the official. It was just like backyards,
just random shows,
and a lot of stuff goes down on like the college campus zone, like University of Texas, whatever it is. So yeah, like we got to play with like a bunch of bands that we probably would have never gotten to played with. So like we did get a lot out of that week. Yeah, and like because you're at South by and because it's like 20 bands on every show, like we always played to people. So like yeah, they kind of weirdly, and then because the Top Shelf thing, we played their official showcase, their unofficial showcase. So like it was low key and like no drives. We're just posted up in an Airbnb for 6 days, like kind of tour, like full tourcation.
Yeah,
like it ended up actually being really like positive. Of course, like it wasn't like the indie rock band goes to South by and like comes back with management, and it was never like let's go down and like get discovered. But it was like we had this label who do an official showcase, but also a really cool unofficial showcase, so we know we'll have 2 good shows, and then managed to cobble together like another 5 or 6, and like don't have to schlep, don't have to travel, don't have to get a vehicle, just like Ubering places, no backline. So yeah, it was a really fun week. I'm glad we did it.
I'm surprised y'all never played the fest.
Dude, I've always wanted but the thing about Fest is like, Fest never hit us. It's not like they were like, come and like, oh, we don't have visas, or oh, we can't get down there. Like
They
Fest
just never
once hit us. So in a way, I'm like, yeah, it would have been sick to play Fest, but it also kind of feels, I don't know, weirdly like, well, they never asked, so like I'm sure we could have got on Fest. I'm sure like there was an era where we did have an agent, and there was an era where we did have a visa, but we probably would have had to fly down.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It just wasn't.
It's like the perfect place for y'all.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Like, I think at its core, it's definitely like the No Idea, Hot Water Music, Dillinger Fort, whatever. But like that festival in the last decade, 12, 15 years, whatever, has done a really good job of bringing our scene into the fold.
Yeah.
Even the Screamo stuff is really well represented there. So like full respect. The lineup is always like lit. And yeah, like one of the few things that like I'll probably never get to do that. It's like, damn, that, that makes sense, and we could have done it, and we would have fit well, and it would have been a good time. So yeah, that's definitely a bummer.
You just gotta start a new band and take it down there to do it.
I don't know about all that.
It's a hard pass,
but golfer reunion at Fest, God willing.
That'd be cool, actually. So Fog Lake, what's the deal?
I was just a big fan, like I said earlier, like that post Alex G. Like I got really into Alex G in like 2013, and before that I was like never into like really into like singer-songwriter type, not to say that it's singer-songwriter type music, but like never really into like indie rock kind of like.
Okay.
I had a Bright Eyes phase maybe, which also debatably indie rock, but like, you know what I mean? Like and like I love like My Bloody Valentine and shit kind of because I listen to post rock, but like also not necessarily an indie rock band, but like all that stuff that like those people cite as influences, if it's like Built to Spill or Songs of Higher or like that just passed me. Like it just was never my thing. So Alex G kind of was like adjacent to that like Philly emo scene that I was like super obsessed with. And that was kind of the beginning of like all those people moving on from like emo and getting into that kind of like whatever you want to call it. Slacker rock, bedroom pop, whatever you want to call it. So I got put onto Alex G, and then I was like, this is amazing. And then he was on this label called Orchid Tapes that put out like all that stuff. And I just went on this deep dive into Orchid Tapes and found Fog Lake through that. I think booked a show for Fog Lake in 2014. Would book Fog Lake kind of like every year when he'd leave Newfoundland and go to Quebec and Ontario. And then, yeah, became friendly. He moved here in 2016, and I just was like, I'm playing bass in your band. And then a couple months later, I was at this Foxing show. I think they were on a day off on like a Balance Composure tour. And I was like, hey, you guys are going into Europe in the spring, and I noticed like you don't have support announced. They're like, no. I was like, you should bring out Fog Lake. So we went out and did like a month in Europe with Foxing, and we've done a bunch of US stuff before the pandemic, and then Aaron moved back to Newfoundland and kind of took a pause on touring, and now we're back for the first time since 2020 on a full US.
5 weeks?
5 weeks, yeah.
Jesus. Makes me sick.
I was shot after 2 days of golfer this weekend, so I don't know. 5 weeks.
You start doing cardio.
I'm going to start eating, not eating Taco Bell maybe. I'm going to start eating those 7-Eleven green smoothies.
Taco Bell is, the vegan options are dope, though.
I'm a huge fan.
Big fan.
We got Golfer got Feed the Beat. $500 of
How do
Taco
you get
Bell.
that? That's
Top Shelf hooked
crazy.
it up.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't think they do it anymore. I don't know, but like they did for a while.
Be careful
like
though,
hundreds of bands.
because if you get featured on Feed the Beat, they're gonna think that you're an industry plant.
Taco Bell hardcore. Ian Shelton's DJing the opening of a Taco Bell cantina in LA like tomorrow or something.
Industry plant. Ian is not an industry plant.
No.
Ian's a real one for sure.
RJC, Regional Justice Center.
Yeah, straight up.
I think he was like in Self Defense Family maybe for a tour or something.
If he was, then he's my hero.
I love Self Defense Family. I'm obsessed with Self Defense Family.
This is crazy. Bruiserweight in the group chat, we always talk about like the Run for Cover like golden era.
Sure.
Because there was a golden era.
I mean, label's still lit as far as I'm concerned.
Very, very good.
Armlock album of the year. Like they're still putting out good music.
It's just from my like when I got hooked on it, it was like Peripheral Vision, Turnover, like Youth.
Sure.
So basically, I had a sampler from them that had like Polar Bear Club on it.
Sure.
It had Self Defense Family End of the Year on it, and then we were talking about Drug Church for like Drug Church literally has no skips. It's like the perfect band. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, yeah, but I still miss Self Defense Family because it was just scary. Like it was raw, and like you would listen to it and be like, what the hell is this?
So I only got into Self Defense Family during the pandemic. Like they missed me. Like I couldn't wrap my head around it when it was, I don't know, maybe more active. Like we played a show with them at Ritz with tiny moving parts that maybe like 12 people went to, and I was like, I don't get it. And I would try and listen to the records like, I don't get it. And I don't know what happened during the pandemic, but like I became a super fan. Mm-hmm. And it unlocked so much music for me. It was like, it was my gateway as like a 30-year-old into like the Jesus Lizard and fucking Lungfish and fucking Leatherface, and like opened my eyes for the first time to like One Last Wish and Embrace and Rites of Spring, like stuff that like I should love as a fan of all the other stuff I like. But it took getting into Self Defense Family to like, and I don't know, I was just a late bloomer to like, some of it has to do with the production stuff.
It's weird. It's
like,
a weird sound.
So I think, yeah, it's just like I needed that maturity, which is so weird because at 16 I was like listening to like 40-minute long like drone pieces. Like none of it really makes sense. Like I was into really avant music in certain milieus, but not in punk. I don't know. But so yeah, Self Defense, obsessed with the band, but also very important for me during the pandemic. Self Defense is 100% the reason why Held exists. Mm-hmm. Like not that we necessarily sound like them, but like those bands that Pat inadvertently turned me on to are like all the influences for Held. But yeah, I think Self Defense has a record coming out next year. So
if they do a reunion tour.
Right. I mean, I don't think they ever went away. I think Pat just got really busy with Drug Church, and Self Defense probably just a band that like doesn't really sell tickets, or you know like
they definitely don't sell. I don't think they
you know
sell
what
tickets,
I mean.
Yeah.
But I think they've been working on this record for a while, and I think like it's happening, and like I'm sure they'll tour on it, and I'm very stoked. And there's no way in the world they're gonna ever come here, but
no. Well, maybe they will, because Drug Church has been really good to them. I mean, like Montreal's been really good to Drug Church. So if he was to post about,
I think it'll be more just like Self Defense will do like very limited A market. Like I don't see them doing, you know,
they'll
what
do
I mean?
like Toronto at
maybe
at like a 300 at like a
right.
What's the fucking venue that they anyway? The Speed, where Speed was
Velvet.
Yeah, they'll do like small.
Like they'll definitely do like heavy New York, Philly, Boston, DC, Chicago, like, you know, LASF, Portland, like, you know.
Well, because they're from Albany?
Well, I think now it's like they all live in different. I don't think anyone in Self Defense lives in Albany. I think like, I know Pat lives in like Perth, Australia. I think it's like
that's crazy.
A collective, whatever.
Yeah,
but I doubt
it's like the Armed.
Sure. I wonder if anyone in the Armed lives in Detroit.
You know what I mean? They like, did at one point.
No, totally.
They were all like in the same house or some shit.
But yeah, that Run for Cover, I don't know what we were talking about.
The Golden Age.
The Golden Age.
Anyway.
We were talking about something before that.
About
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell, Self Defense Family, Ian. I can't remember how I got there.
Well, we talk about hardcore and how Ian's a real one and not an industry plant.
I like Ian. I think he's funny.
Certainly funny.
Yeah. Like, Yeah, he's crazy.
Him
I heard
and-
a story about him. Basically, he was playing with RJC, and somebody in the front row kept flicking him off, kept flicking him off all over and over again. He started shouting from the drum kit, started shouting at this dude, and it eventually led to him jumping off the drum kit and fucking jumping into the crowd and getting into a fight with this guy. And so I'm like, I like that energy. And then you see him in Military Gun, and he's like, please don't mosh to this. This is not a song to mosh to.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I like that he can be two things.
Yeah. Two very different bands, I guess. Kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Military Gun. They're sick. I like that band.
Yeah. I really like the first 2 7-inches a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like my shit with Military Gun. Kind of lost me a little bit on Pressure Cooker, and then, but yeah, those 2 7-inches. Like when they were here on that Touche Scowl Vane tour, and they were just playing that old material. It was like right after COVID, like March 2022.
Oh yes, the sound was not.
I don't know. It was like right in front, yelling
you
all the
were
words.
okay. Then you were just getting all
But
fucking.
I was just getting monitor mix
stage
basically.
noise.
Yeah, but I remember he was not pleased, and yeah, that was a thing. But
I don't remember who was doing sound. I remember for a while Fairmount struggled with sound.
I am not in a capacity to comment.
It wasn't Bennett.
Everything's good now, and that's what counts.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it was literally the week after we hadn't been open for 3 years.
I remember that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're gonna take a couple minutes to recalibrate.
Yeah. It's
You know
good
what I mean?
now. It's great.
Everyone had to readjust after COVID.
Yeah.
You know.
We lost all of our techs.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Start from scratch.
it's all good now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pissed.
No, I remember, but only because I was told. Because I was just so in the cut, yelling right up front. I didn't notice it. I thought it sounded great. I was having a blast.
I remember I was talking to I think the bassist or somebody outside, and they were not stoked about it.
Yeah.
But
I remember Touche sounding fine though.
Touche sounded great,
Right?
But it was because it was their front of
Their
house
tech,
guy.
yeah.
And I think also he mixed Vane.
Right.
'Cause I
Who
remember
also sounded
Vane sounded
outstanding.
insane.
Like not a band that I'd ever listened to. But I remember watching them and being like, this is incredible.
The drummer's hand was
What a
broken,
performance. Yeah. Skateboarding accident
Yep.
of some kind.
and it was I think he finished the tour with a broken hand.
But wasn't at the end of that tour, Ian played drums for a few songs and whoever played Clayton, is that the Touche drummer?
I thought it was Matt
Yeah.
Matt Wood or something like that.
I don't know. But I remember hearing something about how the support bands ended up playing drum. The drummers of those bands ended up playing drums for Vane by the end of that tour. Some story like that.
Damn. That's why you shouldn't skateboard on tour.
Yeah.
Just play frisbee,
Frisbee, solitaire, Nintendo
Switch.
Switch.
Bring your Switch.
Magic the Gathering.
Who's getting hurt playing Magic the Gathering? That's just a good stimulation for your mind.
Right.
You played in Pine Grove for a bit.
3 months.
It was top 3 favorite band.
I think that's the first thing you said to me when we met.
It is, yeah. I fucking love Pine Grove.
How do you know that?
Huh?
How do you know? I'm meeting you for the first time, and you're leading with that.
Oh yeah.
My thought was, how do you know that? You know?
Yeah. Well, now you know now why.
Because you saw the audio tree, and you're like, I recognize that guy.
No, I originally didn't know that. It was I can't remember. I think it was David Farmer mentioned something about it.
I'm surprised David Farmer knows what Pine Grove is.
I don't know. I think it was him. It definitely wasn't Josh, but Pine Grove is Josh Gould's favorite band.
Right. I'd say way stronger shot that it was Josh than it was David Farmer. But
It was before I met Josh that
Okay.
I knew that. That's why I'm I think the timeline is weird.
Interesting.
I think it was David Farmer.
Could be.
Maybe he just knew from following you on Instagram or
Right.
something. So I don't know why he would know what Pine Grove is.
And also, that went down years before we reconnected on the internet, and he was living in China and shit. But anyway, who cares?
He's keeping tabs.
Keeping tabs.
Yeah, that's sick that you got to play on the audio tree.
Yeah, Audio Tree played the Cardinal release show in Montclair. Did a cool tour with Into It Over It, The World Is, and the Sidekicks full U.S. tour. Some really good South by times. We actually played the Run for Cover showcase. It was Citizen Turnover, Us, Self Defense, Lifted Bells. Played with Alex G and Harmony from Girlpool at a house show at 2 a.m. In like a dorm or something, like a college dorm.
That's sick.
Played, a lot of really, really cool shows on that run. Was away from home for 3 months. Got to do that Audio Tree, which is pretty legendary Audio Tree.
It is. I think it's got to be in like the top 10 most watched, if not more.
It's over 1 million.
It's huge.
Yeah.
I still like it. It plays probably once a month.
And I think it probably got a big bump from the shuffle.
From the shuffle.
The Pine Grove Shuffle.
Oh.
You know about the Pine Grove Shuffle, bro?
Fucking Pine Grove Shuffle. I remember when Josh showed that to me, I was like, what the hell is the world coming to?
I mean, it goes back to our earlier conversation. Anything to get anyone into cool shit. Like if it takes a TikTok dance,
That's true.
I'll take it all day.
What's crazy is the Montclair, New Jersey album came out like around the same time as the Shuffle.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they
the
broke up like 3 weeks before the Shuffle.
It makes me so upset.
It's wild.
Because of the whole situation that had happened, you know.
Sure.
And then when they came back, I was like, oh shit, like, come on. Let's bring the momentum back.
Not to say they weren't very successful. Like when we toured with them 2 years ago, they were selling out like 1,500 cap rooms.
Right.
With ease, you know.
Right.
So.
But I just feel like they never got
popping.
like back.
But I do think, yes, like I do wonder in a different timeline how much bigger that band would have or could have gotten. Mm-hmm. Like fucking, they were supposed to tour Europe in 2017 with Phoebe Bridgers opening.
Yeah.
Like I could see that band in a different timeline being like, there's a strange way to put it, but like a male Phoebe Bridgers, you know what I mean?
Like Boy Genius, like how.
Yeah, like I could see that band like selling out MTLS's type of energy, you know?
Yeah.
Not to say they were far from, like, they could have probably done History in Toronto on that tour we did with them, which is like ostensibly an MTLS. But like, you know what I mean? Like, like who knows? But that's just the world.
It shaped out the way it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny to run into people that you don't expect to be fans of Pine Grove.
Tell me more.
So I work at a cafe, and there's like a regular that like I see all the time, and usually like they work at the cafe and take meetings and stuff. And one day I was like in the mood to play some Pine Grove in the cafe. It was slow.
It's good cafe music.
It's amazing cafe music. So I put on, I think I just started with Need To and was like letting it roll. And I think it was, so I put it on. And then they came up and they were like, "Is this your music?" And I was like, "Yes, it's I just put it on." And they were like, "Of course. How did I not know that you were a Pine Grove fan?" I'm like, I mean, I look like probably somebody that listens to Pine Grove. And so, yeah, I just didn't expect you to know who that was.
Sure.
So it's just very funny to like meet.
The normie.
I wouldn't describe this person as a normie though. Like they're definitely like.
Just alt in a different way, maybe?
In a different way.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So, like I would expect them to like more like pop. But like edgy pop.
Alt pop.
Alt pop, yeah.
Right.
Like the weird pop with like abrasive noises in it and stuff. I can't think of an artist because I'm not plugged in.
Right.
But yeah.
Hyper pop.
maybe not hyper pop. That shit is unhinged. I like hyper pop.
I mean, the way
rap.
you describe it, weird pop with harsh noises.
It's not as fast. Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know much about hyper pop.
I don't either. I'm definitely not plugged into that. I like emo rap though.
Never got into emo rap. I like grime and drill.
It's sick.
And
Chicago drill.
UK.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about like Boss Top and King Von.
No.
Chief
UK.
Keef.
Heady One, Unknown T.
That's good shit too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Chicago drill is scary.
I've heard. I gotta get into that. I'm sure I'll love it.
She's got to get into all the O Block artists.
Right. I saw that O Block documentary. Like
Channel
Channel 5.
You did see it? Yeah. I just got into all that from that documentary. Because they're like all these rappers, and I just like wrote down who all they were.
Sick.
They're all good.
Yeah, contemporary rap is a total blind spot for me, and a lot of it is not really for me, but I'll check that out. I was listening to RXK Nephew today. You ever listen to RXK Nephew?
Nope.
That's crazy music.
What is that?
It's like he's talking about like he'll have a track. I don't even know how. It's like the beats are weird. Like it's a lot of like dance music influenced beats.
I have to look this
And
up.
his flow is insane, and the stuff he talks about is insane. It's just very like free flowing. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna listen to this.
Yeah.
He's got a
RXK Nephew.
cyber speed mix of one of his songs.
Yeah. That's the only contemporary rap I might be able to put you onto. RXK Nephew.
Okay.
Wild.
That's like, have you heard Jaleel?
No.
You should.
Like, again.
It's insane. It's not. I don't know if I would call it contemporary. It's like rap mixed with hyperpop.
Okay.
So I've been on some of that too. It's really weird.
Well, that'll be my thing to check out.
Like him and Aaron Cartier. Aaron
No.
Cartier had this one called Top Down. All
Okay.
caps. It's just one word, Top Down. And it's like intentionally, like we were talking to earlier, the production is like intentionally like just completely
Blown out. Yeah.
digitally distorted.
Right.
But it works. I don't know. I kind of prefer it, I think, blown out, distorted than like tin can.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I kind of fuck with that blown out trappy stuff. Like on the one drive I did with Portrayal of Guilt, Matt was playing a lot of that stuff, and I was like, this is lit. Like, I can get behind this. Whereas I think some of the more cleanly produced trap music just doesn't do it for me. But like, there's something aesthetically about the blown out production that is kind of sick.
You have a story that stands out just on any run that you've been on, whether it be Pine Grove or Portrayal of Guilt. That's like, I will never forget this. It's my favorite story for
Like a
tour.
positive story or like a crazy story?
It can be either. If it's wholesome, that's cool too. Maybe bonus points.
I think the one that always comes to mind is just like, I don't think many other people have experienced this, is Golfer's first European tour. We were out with this band Sport from France. Great band. In that kind of like gruff emo revival vibe. And they were all like in their mid 30s, had been like touring Europe for like 15 years. And I think their whole energy was like, we don't want to play the same Belgium, Germany, like France, like the traditional places that people play. So we started in Lyon, France, where they're from, and we played a bunch of great shows in Italy, and then we played 2 shows in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we drove 8 hours through Italy into Slovenia, into Croatia, and now you're like outside of the EU, and like the roads are just insane, and it's just like really windy, hilly, like shitty roads. You're like in a van for 8 hours. You pull up to the Bosnian border. Dudes are coming in the windows with like ARs, barking about money, like basically just extorting you
Yeah.
to get into the country. And then, yeah, like trying to figure out, this is kind of like 2014, like kind of like low-key not smartphone, but like just like the ubiquity of like having maps kind of accessible to you and data and, you know, in this kind of country where whatever. So we didn't know where this squat was. So we just pull up to like this abandoned soccer stadium and like no one's anywhere. Like it's just a desolate, empty town. And like Sport called the promoter and he pulls up in a brand new Mercedes. This guy who's in like this really good screamo band, Deer in the Headlights. He pulls up. We follow him into this industrial like factory zone, but it's like more dudes with snipers in these towers guarding it. And we pull up to this like super like crusty grind squat. Nobody is trying to hear Twinkle fucking Math emo. Like there's like 12 people there and none of them are trying to hear our shit.
Right.
and it's just dim. It's like a dim, like, but like, obviously, like, not to make light of anything, but like a horrible war happened in that region, like not too distant from, 2014. And their entire squad is covered in photos of like war tragedies, like dead bodies, like it's just like it's like a low-key museum in there of like, and it's just a bunch of these like crust dudes like grilling outside. No one's inside. No one's watching the show. And it's like, we just played 5 like crazy shows in France and Italy to like 100, 200, 300 people a night. Just like amazing vibes, crowd surfing, people going crazy. And then we pull up to Banja Luka, Bosnia, get like several guns pulled on us and play to an empty like crust squad. And then we go to Sarajevo the next night. And it's also just like bullet holes in all the walls of like these old buildings and like a dour vibe. And like, there's just like a palpable sense of sadness and loss and recovering from this tragedy. And like the local band are all teenagers playing metalcore, but they don't have gear. So they end up using our stuff and playing like clean metalcore. Their friends don't want to watch us. The regulars in this bar don't want to watch us. It's another like shot show. Long story short, I find weed and I'm smoking weed all night. And I'm rolling the last of it at the end of the night in the green room, which was a bomb shelter in the Yugoslavian war. And the drummer of this local band, who's the only one who kind of like sort of speaks English, he had like lived in Toronto for a few years. Super nice kid. He's like, dude, where did you get that? And where have you been smoking it? Because if you get caught, you're fucked in more ways than one. Like, you would get the shit kicked out of you. You would get assaulted. You would go to prison. Like, you're going to have a really rough go at it. So yeah, just this very like, holy shit, sobering. Like, I am really out here testing my limits, playing music in a country that I don't think many bands in our world have been to.
Yeah.
Just, this like very surreal for so many reasons experience. And then we went to Croatia, and then we went to Bosnia, and we went to Hungary, and those were all awesome. Like, those shows were all great, and Poland was great, and Czech Republic was great. Germany, Slovakia. But like those 2 days in Bosnia, just for that whole cocktail of reasons, probably has to be my most like exceptional tour memory.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know of any band that's played Bosnia.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure there are a bunch of European punk bands who have, but like in our world of people we know or bands we know of, I gotta say there's 5 total.
Big scene, big emo scene in Bosnia.
No. No.
Well, David, I think we've reached the end of our journey here today.
All this water and coffee is making me
I'm getting really antsy. I really appreciate your time.
But we got that final question.
We do, and you know what it is.
I know what it is.
What's your favorite city for beans and breakdowns?
Well, like I said, not a big coffee guy. I kind of got into decaf in the last couple of years. And again, not a super hardcore kid. So like breakdowns.
Taking Back Sunday's got breakdowns.
No, I listen to mad bands with breakdowns, but maybe not in the conventional sense. But like, good segue from the last conversation. That Europe tour, we played this thing called Fluff Fest.
Okay.
Which is, I don't know if you know Fluff Fest, but like,
no.
YouTube some Fluff Fest stuff, like crazy Have Heart set, crazy Law Dispute set, like the coolest hardcore festival in Europe as far as I'm concerned, and like everyone agrees with me. Like,
is it still going?
No.
Oh.
Ask Nab about Fluff Fest.
I will do that.
He'll probably talk to you for like 45 minutes about how it's the greatest thing of all time. The year we played, I saw Bane, I saw Backtrack, but like it's mostly like screamo and I don't know, like power vibe. I don't know. It's all just sick. That band DOA played.
Oh shit, that's crazy.
So a lot of that tour was sort of like crisscrossing with other bands that were on their way to that festival too. And that's also the tour I discovered Mate on.
Nice.
So like that feels like my big caffeine revelation. And a lot of those bands were kind of like hardcore bands or melodic hardcore bands or post-metal bands. I don't know, breakdown adjacent kind of bands.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this in the shower this morning. I was like, what town am I gonna pick? And I'm gonna pick Wrocław, Poland as my answer.
Is that where Fluff Fest was?
No, that's in Roszikani. I'm slaughtering that, but it's in the Czech Republic and like kind of near Pilsen, I think.
Oh, nice.
But I just remember Wrocław just being like a really fun show with really heavy bands and drinking some mate and yeah, that's my answer. I don't know. It's not a perfect answer, but
I've heard Poland's dope though.
Poland's lit. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I heard it's great.
And the shows were great and the mate was frothy and the breakdowns were heavy and that's my best answer. I don't know.
One of the best black metal bands I've ever heard is from Poland.
Yeah.
Yeah, Batushka.
Sure. That's the one that has like the feud, right?
They do
the
like
two?
black. Yeah, the two and they're feuding, the vocalist and the guitarist.
Yeah.
And they played at Barlow Ritz. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah. But I think then the other Batushka played at Studio TD.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Was it the other one?
I think so. I think it was the other one.
That's crazy.
Boucher can fill us in on the details.
Dave, go ahead and drop it in the comments.
Yeah, let us know who the legit Batushka is.
Who, in your opinion, is the legit Batushka? Is it the first or the second one? But yeah,
it's whatever the one Dave did. I think Dave did one and Evenko did the other.
Dave did the
Ritz one.
The Ritz one,
yeah.
and that show is fucking awesome. So
shout out to the extensive Batushka show.
Yes.
We love you, Dave.
We love
past
you,
guest of the show, friend of the show.
Friend of the show, big friend of the show. Employer of the show.
Dawn of Canadian hardcore.
The Don Juan of Montreal heavy music.
Big shout out.
David, thanks so much.
Thank you. That was fun as hell.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beans and Breakdowns. I want to say a huge thanks to David for hanging out on the podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to listen to Lights Out, the final farewell release from Golfer. Also, you can keep an eye on his many other projects. I'll link some of them below. And if you're in the Montreal area, Blue Skies Turn Black, always putting on amazing emo, alternative, all kinds of shows. So keep an eye out there. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. You can find out more information about the podcast by following us on Instagram at Beans and Breakdowns or on the web at beansandbreakdowns.com. Until next week, be sure to stay caffeinated and wake the fuck up.